Hello and welcome to episode 199 of the Arena Regulars podcast. I'm Zach,
And I'm Jeff.
and we're your source for drunken Magic the Gathering arena content.
That's right. Just a couple of regular guys drinking some irregular beers and talking about Magic the Gathering, in particular, the online client MTG Arena.
That's right. And this episode is all about the new set that is coming out. It is Edge of Eternities. The debut video happened just today, so we have lots of spoilers to talk about, lots of mechanics that we got to dive into. But first, each week we bring a beer. We drink it, we rate it on a scale from bronze to mythic, just like the tiers in Arena. So with that, Jeff, what's on tap?
All right. This week we have Slow, an IPA by Slake. It's 6.5%. And honestly, that's all I really know about it, other than it says slow is the way on the side.
Mm-hmm.
And one little tidbit that I noticed that gives me a little hint of things to come is that it has oats in it, which is not always the case for IPAs, but something that
Mm,
I like. It promotes good head retention.
yes. Uh, Sweet. Looking for some great head on
It's
this beer.
right.
I did look up on the website just to see if we had a little bit more tasting notes, and we
Mm,
do.
okay.
We're looking for soft bitterness, lots of fresh citrus, mango, and papaya flavors.
All right.
And it
Okay.
also
All
says
right.
it's
Mm.
yum, just yum. So, all
It
right.
sounds like we're talking East Coast style here then, but
Yes, that's what we want, baby.
yeah.
Those are the good ones.
I mean, there are no wrong answers here,
It's
but
true.
in the East and West Coast debate, except that East Coast is better for sure.
Yeah, I think honestly at this point, every time I talk to people, they always pick East Coast ones. Or they're like,
Yeah.
or even if they don't know the word, they're like, the hazy, like fruity ones. I'm like, yeah, there we go.
Yeah, those are the
Yeah,
better ones.
those are the better ones. They are better. So Jeff, with that being said, let's crack into this thing.
Should.
Alrighty. Ooh yeah, baby. So with that, we have some magic news. As I said before, Edge of Eternities is officially in spoiler season, and thank God for that, because holy moly, there have been a lot of leaks for this set.
Mm.
Now, we don't like talking about leaks themselves, like actual cards, so we won't be doing that. We're only going to be talking about officially spoiled cards on this podcast, just because leaks are bad. Leaks are really bad.
And you know what? There are enough officially spoiled cards. We
There's a
could talk
ton.
about them.
Yeah, absolutely. But the just we don't always get sets with like tons of leaks like this.
It
But I think
happens, I feel like every maybe year and a
yeah,
half, there's like one of the sets is just
super
gets
leaked.
nuked with leaks.
Yeah. And it like is kind of a bummer because then you're seeing them like at least a month ahead of time. Like these have been going on for a while and we haven't been talking about them. So I just want to say I'm very happy that we're finally in official spoiler season so I can look at these cards and
Yeah.
feel, I don't know, good about it.
And we've talked about it before, but I don't know why people who leak cards always seem to have like a Nokia flip phone from like the
Oh
early
yeah.
2000s. Like it's just the
It's like
worst pictures ever. It's like, how
there's
are
a
you even, what is even taking these in this day and age? How are these pictures even being leaked?
yeah,
Like,
it's like I don't it does feel like you go back in time randomly. It's like because
yeah.
it's a leak, there's like a weird 1990 filter over it. So
I feel
like
like they take a photo with their smartphone and they like give it to AI or something and like make this look like it came from the early 2000s.
totally. Or they like somebody their friend is opening packs and they're just running by and trying to take a picture as they
As
run
fast as
past. Yeah.
even still, man, I think my like Pixel 9 would
Yeah, do way better.
would snap that shit.
But yeah, they're absolutely horrible pictures. It really kind of ruins the whole like I don't know spoiler quality of them. I don't know. I
It
don't
gives
like
me like
leaks.
the 90s movie bootleg vibe where the guy's
Hmm.
sitting with a camcorder in the movie theater and those were the those were the bootlegs you were watching.
Yeah, that you
It's
bought on the
like
street that with like a plastic
you
case.
can't really see what's happening or hear
Yeah.
what's happening. The quality's so terrible.
And then people are like, "Yeah, I already saw that movie. It's only in theaters." You're like, "I got a bootleg." But it's like, "Yeah, but did you really see the movie though? Like you didn't really
Yeah.
see it. Like that's garbage." Like
Who
they're
was in
cheering.
it?
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, So happy that leaks aren't actually like over, but we're in the period of time where we're getting all the official ones, and that's really exciting. And once again, Wizards, please give us a preview card. That'd be great. Anyway, so Jeff, let's talk about this new set. This
Yeah.
is the first set we are getting post Universes Beyond stuff, right? Like we're
Mhm.
officially getting our first magic themed set after we've moved into the Universes Beyond era. And I gotta say, it looks pretty sick. Like the art is really awesome.
Yeah. Right. It's the art is pretty awesome. It definitely gives off that like sci-fi
Hmm.
vibe that I think they're shooting for, at least from
Yeah,
these early previews. They always kind of nail that these days, right? Like the look and feel of the cards matches up with their intent. Um, yeah, it's not quite what I expected. I think when they told me about it, I kind of maybe I was a doomsayer and just saying like, yeah, it's just going to be Eldrazi or whatever, and
hmm,
doesn't seem to be what this is. So happy
yeah.
to see
It
that.
Yes, that's true. You were the first one to jump on board, being like, "It's just going to be a bunch of bullshit Eldrazi stuff," and I'm not
I hate
excited for
it.
that.
Yeah.
Um, I will say, as far as like overarching themes go, I am getting a lot of strong, like, not Phyrexian, but the rebels on Phyrexia. What are they called? The Mirren. It's giving me a lot of
Right.
like. There's one faction, like the Boros faction, gives like really strong Mirren vibes.
Hmm.
There's some of the characters, just like their armor and stuff, or some of their. I think it's the maybe it's not the Boros faction. Maybe it's the Orzhov faction, like the white black creatures have like those the armor and like their weapons and stuff with like the glowing blades. They're just not the same
Right.
colored glowing blades, but they are giving me that vibe. So it does kind of harken back a bit to other magic sets, but also at the same time, we have enough different stuff that does feel spacey. But I don't know. I think at this point, Magic could do probably whatever it wanted, and it would still feel like Magic to me. I don't know.
Yeah. I think yeah, they think they've proven that already. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, to me, like there's the odd Eldr there is an Eldrazi card like I could see right now, and then
Hmm.
there's some magic stuff like there's some returning stuff from Magic lore. But if I just kind of scroll through to the spoilers and take a random snapshot, I get pretty heavy like Star Wars vibes from it. It's
Sure.
just
Yeah.
like a lot of space stations, and
Hmm.
in particular, I happen to be looking at like Red Ghost, Deft Gastronaut, which we might talk about later. Like that
Hmm.
character feels very Star Warsy. It's like a big kind of lobster chef guy.
Yeah, dude,
Yeah.
that guy he reminds me of in Attack of the Clones. There's a Dex, and he's like the diner.
Yeah, yeah,
He
yeah.
makes all the food at the diner, and he's this big, weird, blobby kind of gross dude. And you'd go into his place, and he would make you something that like looked kind of gross, but everyone loved. Uh,
Yeah.
Ragost definitely gives me that vibe. And now that we're talking about it, Jeff, we might as well just talk about this card. Like,
Let's just, yeah, that's fair. Because the whole circle back to it thing sometimes doesn't occur. Um, so Ragos Deft Gastronaut is red and a white for a legendary creature, Lobster Citizen. It's a 2/2, and it has artifacts you control are foods in addition to their other types and have the food ability. Pay 2, sack it, gain 3 life. You can pay 1, tap Ragost, and sack a food to deal 3 damage to each opponent. And at the beginning of each end step, if you gained life this turn, untap it. Interesting. I
very interesting. I do not know what to do with this card. It does feel very commandery because like this is exactly the kind of character I'd want to build a commander deck around because it's like a weird lobster chef guy.
Yeah, well, that's the first thing. Like, I do appreciate the thing here that the like galactic, like the fine dining chef is a lobster. I think
Hmm.
that's kind of funny because obviously here on Earth,
Hmm.
lobster typically finds itself on fine dining menus.
Yes.
Um, the card itself, when I first read it, I thought the last ability, like I thought he triggered himself. I thought it was like,
Right.
you would gain the life when you sack the food, and so you're sacking the food to just nail them for three, and it untaps every
Hmm.
time you do it. And I was like, what fresh hell is this? Like all I
Yeah.
have to do is get a bunch of artifacts, and this
And
thing
then
just kills them.
pew, 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 pew,
Um,
pew.
but no, it
No, that's not the
makes
case.
sense as a
Hmm.
design, and it's sort of like I guess I'm not totally sure what the idea here is, but you're supposed to throw one food at them and then sack the another one to untap it. So in the world where you have like a ton of food and even more mana,
Yeah.
you can spend three a turn to
Hmm.
basically lightning helix them every turn cycle.
That's true.
That
Or
is a lot less exciting than just lightning bolting them every turn cycle, which I originally thought the card did. And I was like,
yeah.
holy fuck, I gotta get four
Hmm.
of these. But
You could give it lifelink somehow and then go off.
that's the other thing.
So
Then that turns it into what
mhm,
I thought it was. But I'm less
yeah,
excited when it has to be a combo instead of just, whoa, that's what
with
this
just
card
one
does.
card.
Like,
It's true. It's
yeah.
true. Yeah. But this guy really loves to be sheltered by ghosts. Let's just,
There you
hey,
go. Yeah.
that's pretty exciting.
It could
Um,
be a thing.
it could
But
be a thing. Very interesting sideboard tech for like uh the oh god, the Boros tokens deck. If you were focusing on having artifacts and stuff.
right, like I guess they kind of make enough. Maybe they make enough artifacts to be into this.
Or you could make a version that would be into this. I don't know, but
Yeah.
I do.
It's
It
food for
looks
thought.
yes, lobster food for thought. I also think that the food that he's making seems to be made of metal. There's like a gear inside of some sort of jello thing, and there's some like other weird. There's some weird stuff in here,
Yeah.
like
Definitely looks unusual.
yeah, space food for sure. Hey, space food. Throw some metal in there. That'll be. There's some wire sticking out of something. Yeah, definitely funky food there. Um, but I love that you called that one out like right at the top. That's great. Um, but
I
Jeff,
was
as
just,
far
I happened to be looking at it. I was like, yeah, this is just part of the Star Wars vibe that I'm talking about.
yes, so yes, that's right. That's right. Dex. I actually, I think I had a action figure of Dex. I think from Attack of the Clones.
Oh, yeah.
Which is maybe one of the reasons why I remember Dex so well. Either I had an action figure or I really, really wanted one for some reason.
I was a little surprised they'd make that, but I guess
I can't
it's
remember
not
which one it
exactly a
is.
main character.
It's definitely not. Um, and I don't know if a lot of people remember that character, but I thought he was really cool. It was just like that random, just the guy, your neighborhood dude that they just like always go to that diner and get food from.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I like touches like that in this kind of
Yes.
stuff, right? Where it's like, even in fantasy, where it's like, yeah, there's still like the local mom and pop shop that
Yeah, people still
everyone
have
claims
communities.
makes the best noodles or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah,
Like,
eyeball soup, or I
yeah,
guess in
yeah.
this case, like nuts and bolts granola.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Goddamn space hippies.
Yeah, those fucking space hippies. Um, but anyway, Jeff, let's talk about some new mechanics that we're getting from this set. Um, we basically have three cards, or sorry, three cards, three mechanics. So I'm going to talk about the first one, which
Okay.
is, I mean, we're both going to talk about them, but I'm going to read a card for the first one. And the first mechanic, and probably the main one, is warp. So
Mhm.
this is kind of like, let me just read the card. I don't want to explain it yet. So we're going to talk about Nova Hellkite, which is 3 red red for a 4/5 creature dragon at rare. It has flying and haste. And it says when this creature enters, it deals 1 damage to target creature and opponent controls. And it has warp for 2 and a red. And it says you may cast this card from your hand for its warp cost. Exile this card at the beginning of the next end step. Then you may cast it from exile on a later turn. So this is like a combination of, it's basically adventure but all the adventure creatures do the same thing on their adventure side. So it
Mm.
also feels a lot like Evoke.
I literally had the same thought that it's Evoke. As soon as I read it, I'm like, this is Evoke meets Adventure, but I had it
Mm-hmm.
the other way around in my head. It feels more like Evoke to me with the adventure touch of it
Getting
goes
to
into exile and you
play it
cast it
again.
later. So
Yeah.
it's Evoke, but you get the best of both worlds, which obviously sounds fucking crazy if you're thinking of the traditional Evoke creatures that we're thinking of.
Mm-hmm.
So,
So like Mold Drifter is one of the main ones. One of the reasons I picked this card is because this has the same mana costs as Mold Drifter, right? So
right.
it's like 5 mana to play the creature and then 3 mana to warp it.
Yeah.
Now this one is also better than a lot of the other cards. This shows a really strong piece of that it has haste
Haste. Yeah.
and it gets to attack the turn it comes into play. So a lot of these cards either have ETBs where they enter and do something. This one gets to attack if you'd like. And then you can cast it on another later turn, get the ETB again. That's great. However, there are a lot of other warp cards that are just basically like enchantments for the turn, which are the more bizarre ones to me, and seems to be more of a theme.
Yeah. That's what I was gonna say. I'll talk about this card first, so that we can get back to Warp. This card seems really strong to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's, I guess, like reminds me a bit of like ball lightning kind of stuff,
Mm.
where it's like a 4 mana haster that you only play for 3 mana. You have to sack it and end step. But obviously, like power level ratcheted up in every possible way. It has flying,
Mm-hmm.
it has toughness, it has an ETB, and you get to cast a big dragon later in the game.
It has
I
flying.
think,
Yeah.
yeah, I think this card has actual potential. I'm interested in this card. But the other thing about this card is that if you scroll up on Scryfall to the alternate art borderless cards,
Mm-hmm.
I love the alternate art for this card. I think
Oh
that's just
hell
like
yeah.
a friggin' awesome piece. And so it makes me want to play this thing even more. Um, but I'm also weirdly enough, curious about like sacrificing these things, even though it means you don't get to cast them again. Because one of the weaknesses
Mm-hmm.
for these cards against Evoke is that Evoke actually sacks the creature and
Immediately.
puts it
Yeah.
in your yard. And so it
Mm-hmm.
triggers sack stuff and it triggers, or it's good for a reanimator or returning things to your hand kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
This actually, weirdly enough, fights against all that stuff. So, sorry, when I said I was interested in sagging them, I mean that I'm sort of disappointed that
Got
like
it. It
I
doesn't
don't,
sacrifice.
it doesn't sack well. It doesn't play well into the
Mm-hmm.
whole like I guess returning this is fine if you went through the whole cycle of like you play this,
Mm-hmm.
it exiles, then you cast the big side, that somehow dies, you get it back is fine. But the evoke, I think part of the strength was it goes into your graveyard,
Yeah.
not the exile zone. Now, this set is about the exile zone.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that is even an advantage. I don't know. But
I
like
think it
big part of
is.
Mull
Yeah.
Drifter is like you're kind of happy that that thing goes into your yard when
Mm-hmm.
you cast the divination. Um,
And that's kind of why I like because like a lot of stuff with Mold Drifter, you could still do it with this. Is where like you play Mold Drifter with the trigger on the stack to get sacrificed. You blink it and it stays forever, and you get 2 instances of the ETB.
right.
You could still do that with this card. It's
That
just
still
easier.
works.
It's
Yeah.
easier to play around. But this one's really cool because this specific card has haste, so you can attack with it, sure. But one of the other cool things that happens with the warp cards, the last time we were talking about Edge of Eternities, we were talking about the station cards, which are ones that you want creatures to tap to station them to put charge counters
Mm,
on it. All these warp cards, you can play them for their warp cost, and because the ability to tap them is on the station, even though they have summoning sickness, they can still tap and put the charge counters on those stations. So you get the
right.
ETB, you tap it, you station up one of your things, goes away.
Yeah, station would be awful if it didn't work that way. So
Exactly. So that's really nice. There is a warp card that's a 9 mana 9/9 that warps for 3, and it's just like basically it's like a 3 mana.
gotcha.
You get to station something
It's
for
it's it's the
9.
like station worker
Yeah.
mercenary,
Is it?
guy
Well,
that
it's like
shows everyone up when he gets hired.
exactly. Yeah. So that is a cool thing with warp. Um, but I think we should talk about another card to kind of explain the other side of this
Hmm,
because this dragon explains exactly what we would want warp to be. It's like, all right, you get to play it, you
right.
get to attack, then it comes back and you get to smash face. But a card like Exalted Sunborn,
Hmm.
Jeff, would you like to read this card?
Yeah, so this is the first one that I read with Warp, and I just had like you can imagine me like question marks all
Like,
over
what
my
is the
head, being
hell is
like,
going
what
on?
the fuck is happening?
Hmm.
Okay, Exalted Sunborn is 3 white for a 4/5 flying lifelink angel wizard. If one or more tokens would be created under your control, twice that many of those tokens are created. Instead, warp for 1 and a white.
What?
So remember that warp exiles on
Instead.
your end step or the next end step. So I was
Yeah.
curious to see after reading this if any warp cards would have flash, because that would get weird where you do it on their end step. It can
Hmm.
untap and attack. Or haste. Those are kind of the keywords I was looking for after reading
Yeah.
this card. Found one with haste. I don't think I saw any with flash. And I think they probably shouldn't print any with flash, but
That's too confusing.
uh, yeah. But what does this card do? Like, this is a 4/5 flying lifelink that doubles tokens. If you're in a situation where you can't wait around for the 4/5 flying lifelink body, but you have like a 3 mana token maker, I guess you
Hmm.
could warp this and then double the tokens on that one spell. Like, I'm not. This is an interesting take on the warp mechanic because we've generally seen it as,
Yes.
like you say, ETBs on evoke creatures. That's how this
Hmm.
has been done in the past. Or adventure. We're calling it evoke meets adventure. Adventure spells always do something. You know what I
It's
mean?
true. They
Like,
don't just say until end of turn your tokens are doubled. Like that was never an
right. I mean, that
adventure.
would be a kind of weird adventure
That would be a
creature.
horrible instant. Like it's so dumb.
Yeah.
So they're basically saying that like either they're ETB creatures or they're enchantments.
Yeah.
And this is one of
That
the
you can sort of
enchantment ones.
it's like powerful enchantments that you can try to make use of earlier than you normally would,
Yeah.
but only for one turn.
So
But
it's
then you have to spend the mana on that turn to do it.
yeah, so it's kind of this weird like if you have raise the alarm on turn 4, you can make twice as many tokens, and then on turn 5 you play this so you have it forever. I don't know. It's an interesting idea, and I like the flexibility of it, but I don't really see the applications. They're not jumping right out at me.
It sounds commandery to me in some
Yeah.
like
I
maybe
think
commander
it's
players can make use of this in a way that's more meaningful. And this card in particular, like the whole doubling
that's
tokens is
it's
generally
true
a
if you had a
commander
bunch of
thing.
things that were going to make tokens on that one turn and you're like, you know what, I just need twice as many and I can't spend 5 mana to do it. I just need a doubler that costs 2 for one turn. Because
Right.
all the token doublers are like 4 or 5 mana in Commander. So this is a way to get a cheaper token doubler just for like that turn. And then later you get to play it again. So it definitely feels like it's that kind of card. And in limited, it's just a 5 mana 4/5 with flying and lifelink. That's
Or maybe this is just the ephemerate thing. Like your whole game plan here is to just warp this and
it's true.
ephemerate it and make it a 3 drop.
Yeah, but
And it's,
aren't there
you know,
just better ETB ones to do with
for
ephemerate
sure.
then? Yeah, but
Oh
like
yeah, ephemerate has better targets than this, right?
also
Like,
ephemerate decks don't want to play with tokens, right? Because you can't blink them, so then you don't probably want to have this card in your deck anyway. I don't
yeah.
know.
But maybe that's the commander thing is you're blinking this. I don't know.
Yeah, if you had like a conjurer's closet or something, or some way to stop the end step or whatever, end the turn or something. Anyway, a little bit of a head scratcher for us, but definitely an interesting card, and the art is dope as hell. I will say
The
that.
art is
But
so good.
yeah,
Yeah. Way to
So
go,
some
Scott.
yeah, great job, Scott M. Fisher. But Jeff, let's move on to the next mechanic or thing.
Yeah, it's a mechanic, right?
It is a
Like
mechanic,
I
yeah.
think we call these mechanics nowadays. So
Yeah, yeah.
this is our newest artifact token, which they love making. They
They
kind of
do.
went on a spree for a while and then like cooled off a bit, and
They
now
did. It was a little bit too
back.
much.
But this card, the mechanic is called Lander, and the card that we'll use is Siege Ship Impact. It's one in the green for an instant. It says destroy a target artifact or enchantment. If its mana value was 2 or less, create a Lander token. And a Lander
Hmm.
token is an artifact with 2 tap sack. Search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield, tapped, then shuffle.
Okay. That's like just an artifact rampant growth. That's
Right.
cool.
I I like how the artifact itself is not tapped.
Yes.
So the artifact can be used right away
Right away.
at instant speed too.
Yes.
I think that's pretty interesting for landfall stuff. And
Stuff.
this is not that different in terms of power level from a clue token.
Hmm.
It's it's hard to say. I think maybe it's a little stronger than a clue token. And clues are
Really?
pretty good.
I was not thinking
So
it was stronger than a clue token, but I mean, clues you don't have to tap, right? But I don't. That's not really part of the strength. I
I think it's more just about like they both get you a card and this one
hmm
puts it
puts
into
it on.
play.
That is true.
Obviously, clues can get you stuff other than lands, so
Hmm. That's a big part of clues. Um, I think it's pretty interesting with like the idea of a landfall deck where you hold a bunch of them and then you just 6 mana get a bunch of lands. And right now there is people are experimenting with the birds deck, the chocobos,
yeah.
post bans. So there is like a Bant landfall deck out there. I'm sure that people could also build like Gruul ones and some other stuff with some things that we got uh, Final Fantasy, and having a bunch of lander tokens just hanging out for a big scary turn could be something interesting.
And even if landfall is not a theme in this set, they might put some landfall stuff in here to facilitate landers
Yes,
as a mechanic.
there
So
is some landfall in this set. I just haven't seen a bunch of it yet. There's a little bit, but it's a returning mechanic, so I didn't think we should focus on it. But yes, it is
right,
present. I think it's
it makes sense that it would have to, right?
the
Because they,
Gruul mechanic.
yeah. So I could see it. I think like when I say it's more powerful, maybe I'm thinking like it's less generic. Not every deck wants it, but it's
Hmm.
more powerful in the
Yeah.
sense that like in the decks that play this, you'll wish they had a clue token instead of
Hmm.
a lander.
Yeah. I will say that Lander as a name, I don't like. Um, I understand that like a lunar lander is like the name of a thing that like helps you land on the moon, and like I
Yeah.
know the Mars rover, that's a thing that moves around. Like I understand that this is the name of a, like I get it, it's supposed to be a little ship or whatever.
Yeah.
But for some reason, like clues, food, blood, maps, lander, I don't know, it just sounds, I know it helps us know what it does by, it's probably hard to come up with, but I don't love the name. I'm not obsessed with it. So
I don't I don't I don't love it either. I don't totally understand the flavor. Like, you know, do we own the moon now because we had put a lander on it? Like
we did
now I
take
can
rocks
tap into
home, so there's that.
took an
Yeah,
awfully long time. But
yeah.
it's just like you send like this little scout onto
Hmm.
the and you just now that's part can generate mana for you.
I guess maybe because then
Whatever.
you have like your, not your troops, but you have somebody connected to the ley lines of that planet. So then that planet's mana is part of your starship thing, maybe.
Yeah.
But yes, I agree. It's quite a stretch, but
It's like magic. Yeah, I mean, we're talking like fantasy meets sci-fi
mhm.
and then criticizing, like how logical the name of this token is.
Yeah,
But
I'd almost want like ley line lander or like I know it shouldn't be two words. One word
Definitely
is
can't be a
correct.
leyline lander token,
I just, you know what I mean? Like something.
They
All
should, if they're
right,
gonna
fine.
do that, they have to go all the way. Just like a five, word token name.
It's just a ridiculous one. Okay, fine, 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 Jeff. I get it.
I,
Like the
I
fact,
agree with you
I,
though that
I, I
I
will.
don't feel like lander fits.
I know. I'll say that the fact that I can't immediately come up with a better name, and even workshopping it, I'm making just much worse ones. Like, sure, yeah, I get it. I get it.
I'm sure that's what they went through, right? They're like, what should
Yes.
these be called? And I'm sure Lander was kind of a begrudging,
Yeah. Like, I
like,
guess
all
we'll
right, I
just.
guess. Like the pros of it are that it's clear what it does.
Yeah.
It goes and gets you a land. Like
Yeah.
that's your lander. Um, so maybe that was like the none of them fit that well
It's
flavor
it.
wise,
It
and
also
this one
can't.
is clear
Yeah.
what it does.
It's hard because it has to be an artifact, right? So, or they wanted it to be an artifact, so you can't have some ethereal word because you want artifact synergies. You don't want enchantment ones or whatever. But
The other criticism I have of it is that, and maybe this is a strength, I don't know, but a lander to me is a space thing, like you were saying, and you land
mhm,
on the moon or whatever. If they want to reuse this token, which they love to do,
yeah,
is it going to be weird that it's called a lander token in another
yeah,
set?
it's gonna be
Like,
so weird. It's gonna
maybe
be
it won't
so
be weird
weird.
because it's just a thing that goes and gets you a land. And so it's
Yeah,
like, oh, that's your lander token. So it won't
yeah.
feel weird. But like the flavor here is it's almost not generic enough. You know what
I
I mean?
wonder, if they just start using the word lander more and more, like they make like some legendary creature, like
Right.
they bring somebody back. They're like Daxos the Lander or something, and they're just
I
like,
feel like this is like what a map token should do, but a map token does something different. I
yeah,
don't know.
it explores, which just it gets you a land to your hand, which sometimes,
Or gains you experience if you didn't
yeah,
find anything.
which is way better, almost
Yeah.
always better.
Yeah,
That
I'm
is,
always like, not a land, not a land, not a land.
yeah,
Fuck.
isn't
Not a
that
land, not a
rough?
land, not a land.
Like
Fuck.
with like explore, it went from like, oh, you get to draw a card or get a +1/+1 counter. It's like, no, you get a +1/+1 counter or you just draw a card.
Yeah.
It's just so funny. Um,
Well, don't forget the surveil aspect
that's
of
true. There is a surveil aspect that I never care about and always
it.
screws me. But yeah, anyway, Lander will be around. Apparently, it's in all five colors too.
Okay.
Whether it actually makes you a token, I know there's a white one that destroys something that is your opponent, or destroys something, and then that controller gets a Lander token,
Classic.
which I think is much better than giving a 1/1, which is what they usually have the white ones do. And it's like, hey, destroy 3 mana, destroy target like non-land permanent. Its controller makes a 1/1 something creature,
Yeah.
and I hate that. It always that 1/1 always is important in some way, but the
Mm.
lander thing I don't think is nearly as good for limited. Sorry, let me just throw that caveat in there. Um,
I'm not sure about that. We'll see.
we will see, but
Because you're ramping them, right? I don't know. That's pretty good.
they have to spend mana to do it. It's not like Path to Exile where I just give them a land. It's like you have to do
Yeah, I
it.
mean, well, Path to Exile's rough. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's true. I guess Path to Exile's a really good comparison
yeah.
because it's Path, but they have to spend 2 mana. You probably didn't spend one, and since you don't
Well,
know what card you're talking about, but
the thing is like Path costs 1 mana to do that, but
yeah.
the card I'm talking about costs 3 mana. So it's like a 3 mana
Ooh.
destroy anything, but then they have to spend 2 mana to get the land. So it's like you both spent 2 extra mana. And
Path
Path
was
is
just creatures too, and it was exile.
that's
It's a
true.
different card, but
It's a different card.
yeah.
But anyway, um,
Talk about
that's
emergency eject, by the way, and
yeah,
you don't have to
emergency.
read it because you said what it does.
Yes, but
No, by
emergency
now
eject is the
you've
one.
read the cards.
Yeah. But
Just for
anyway,
people wondering, it is an instant.
yes, in instant at uncommon. But anyway,
So you
we
can
do.
take advantage of the fact that they might not be able to pay it right now. And you could be like,
It's
okay,
true.
I don't want to cast it when you can pay it immediately, so I'll do it when I know you can't.
Yeah. Or, if you really want to ramp, you can blow up one of your own things and then,
Ooh, spicy.
yeah.
Hey man, I have pathed my own creatures more than once, so
Hmm.
that is not that uncommon a
Yeah.
play.
I mean, like, you have to
At least
spend
back in the day, nobody
five
plays.
mana to do that, but sure.
Yeah.
Very expensive
Right. See,
turn.
there's the downside. Path. You want to path your own thing? One
Hmm.
mana.
Boom. This,
Yeah.
you emergency eject your own thing. 5 mana to get to your 6 or 7 drop. I mean, sure. Emergency,
Five
like,
mana to get a land
holy
after
shit.
2 for 1ing yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty rough. Um, But anyway, we have another mechanic that's coming up that's like this is the most the same as stuff we've seen in the past. It is called Void. So the card we're going to use is Tragic Trajectory. Huh, interesting. Maybe that name will sound very familiar in a second. It is a single black mana for a sorcery at uncommon. It says target creature gets -2/-2 until end of turn, or ability word Void. That creature gets -10/-10 until end of turn instead if a non land permanent left the battlefield this turn or a spell was warped this turn. Obviously, this is a callback to Morbid and Revolt. Those were kind of the combination of these things. Morbid, because this is a tragic slip by chance.
Hmm.
Tragic slip did -1/-1 and then -13/-13 if a creature had died. And then Revolt cared about anything leaving the battlefield. This specifically says non-land permanent, so you can't fetch and then do this, like Fatal Push and stuff like that.
Bummer.
Yeah. Which does, and it's also a sorcery. Like, there's a lot of things that have been pulled back on this card for sure. The one thing I want to say about Void is that it does care if a spell was warped, which just
Mhm.
means that you paid for the warp cost. So it
Oh, that's worth knowing.
yes.
Yeah,
So
that's a
when
good
you
point.
warp a spell, so you could warp something and then play this on your main phase and it still works. You don't have to wait because this is a sorcery, so you can't wait until your end step to have the warp creature leave the battlefield to exile and then it turns on. This way they could work around it so that you
Right.
don't have to
So,
make
so
it an
that makes
instant.
sense. When I read
Hmm.
this writer, I was like, that makes sense because otherwise sorceries could never have
Hmm.
like you want your mechanics to play well together.
Yeah.
Warp and Void kind of feel like they should play well together. Like I'm playing something
Hmm.
that is going to leave on my end step, and then this thing cares if something left. But that makes the timing so awkward. Even if it's an instant, it
Hmm.
has to happen on your end step, and you
Yeah.
have to stack it at like you have to wait for that
Correctly.
warp
Yeah.
trigger to resolve and then cast it.
It's like so annoying.
This this feels clunky when you read it, but
Hmm.
then you're like, no, that's actually the clean way to do it because like you don't want to have to deal with everything's an instant and it always has to happen at the end step.
It just becomes like
Um,
end step magic. It's like, oh, everyone has to play at the end step because of the void cards.
but the point I thought you were bringing up, which now I'm going to ask about, if I warp something and it gets countered, this is still turned on, right?
I would assume so because you did warp a
I
spell.
warped a spell, right?
Yes, I
A
would say
spell
that.
was warped.
Yeah, I would say
And
that.
so
Yes, that's
that
true.
that actually makes it actually a little different than that natural interaction you would expect, where it's like,
Hmm.
oh, I evoke something, it sacked it, and now that
Hmm.
triggers my revolt. Um, because it doesn't have to resolve to
Yeah,
turn
to
this on.
turn this on, that is true. And -10/-10, no joke, buddy. That's great. Sorcery sucks though. Sucks real bad.
Yeah.
So
Not for this card in particular, but it is, I think, worth understanding Void that
for void, yes.
if, if the warped spell gets countered, you're still good to go.
Hmm. Yeah. Uh, so it's nice to see this around. This is a spell that for sure feels like we're not going to see this ever again unless we come back and or warp is in the same set as something because there's
Yeah, I think they kind of made that like
on purpose, yeah, because they knew like they know that they have revolt and morbid at their fingertips. They don't have to bring void back ever. Uh,
and Right. Yeah. Like this is just Revolt, but it's
Sorry.
supposed to. Yeah.
I almost spit my beer all over the place.
Yeah. Glad you didn't. Yeah, it's just slightly fixed Revolt because they would prefer. I think they would have preferred it to say non-land with
Hmm.
original Revolt as well.
Yeah.
But it's not
they
enough of a change that
they brought that up on the stream where Blake was like talking to them being like, "Oh, and you've learned from past mistakes that you should put non-land on it." And they're like, "What do you mean by that?" No. We just didn't want we wanted to make more powerful cards that we didn't have to worry about how easy it would be to get rid of the land stuff. Kind of sidestepping like we didn't make a mistake with the land thing. Like
mm.
don't say that we made a mistake. I don't know if he was saying it like that was not a mistake or I was not the person that made that mistake, so why are you telling
I
me kind
see.
of thing. But there was a moment that was pretty funny on the stream where that came up that I really
Awkward.
liked. Yeah.
But no, I think if you asked Mark Rosewater, I'm sure he would say that Revolt probably should have said non-land, and
Hmm.
that's probably why it's appearing here. Um, but I don't know if that changes enough to like. Let, right, goes, what are the options? You either don't let it work with the thing it feels like it should work with,
Hmm.
which is warp,
Warp.
or you make it amenable to future sets as as a mild improvement on what you already have, given that
Hmm.
you've already essentially banned fetch lands moving
Yeah.
forward. Like,
There's no reason. Yeah,
yeah,
this is the
you
correct
have
thing to do.
revolts. Just use
Just
that.
use that. And morbid kind of sucks every time it
And like the
is.
fact that revolt works with evolving wilds, not a problem. Like
Yeah,
that's that's cool.
like
It's
fabled
just that
passage.
like
It should work that way.
the
Uh,
real problem was that like everything you printed seemed to make fetch lands even more powerful than they already were. And it's just
yeah,
like, how do we stop this uncontrollable beast that is fetch lands?
yeah,
And
it,
answer is ban them.
yeah,
Just don't let people play with them
yeah.
because
Just
they're ridiculous.
they are ridiculous, especially because they were out for so long and they just like continued to not solve the problem.
Right.
Like the funny thing is they weren't even in modern originally, right? Like when was modern like made? Because they didn't have fetch lands until Zendikar.
I think it was before that, but I could be wrong. I
So
think
like
Zendikar like introduced them to modern,
yes.
and then modern became like the fetch land format.
Yeah, because the first time we saw fetch lands was in Onslaught and that was even like it was
That
for
was pre-modern for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. That was type people were playing that in type
One?
2, 1. Type
The
2 is
yeah, when they're
standard,
released, it's type 2. Yeah.
but
Extended, something like that. I don't know.
extended. I think it was extended. I don't. There used to be different names for the formats that were much more complicated.
Yeah.
And when I say much more complicated, I mean just like there were just a bunch of numbers and you just had to know.
Right.
Which now they're just words and you have to know, but at least the words are a little bit easier to hold. Like there was like
Maybe
extended
they
and
somehow kind of the words actually somehow relate to what they are. Um, although modern, that one's the like it actually because I have people come to me and be like, "Oh yeah, modern. Like, do you play that or whatever?" 'Cause I'm thinking about that because I'm starting now and I
I
want
would play
and I'm like,
modern. Yeah.
no, modern
No.
actually means you play with old cards. Don't
Yeah.
worry about it.
Yeah. Don't worry about it. It's like the modern card frame, which
Right.
is also changed since modern has, they're slightly
Yeah,
different.
the name on that one's a disaster, actually.
A little bit.
Like legacy and vintage makes sense,
Yeah,
but
those are great. Pioneer works because it's just like a thing.
I
And
guess, yeah,
standard should be the gold standard. And it is on Arena, but
yeah.
not everywhere else. Uh, but anyway, I. Yeah, it's so hard because modern is just like one of the premier formats. And that has just heavily been dictated by random injections of sets that they decided to put into it, which
To make it more modern.
I guess that's true. Yeah.
Otherwise, the older stuff dominates.
Yeah. So yes, it is technically more modern because they tried putting one good modern card in every set, and then they all ended up being the same color, and all ended up being busted and having to
Yeah,
get banned everywhere.
just like ruin standard and stuff.
Yeah, it is so they're like, huh, how do we put modern powered cards through this line? I guess print Corey Steel Cutter and then ban it after it wins a Pro Tour, and then maybe I don't know.
I guess
I don't even know if that's modern like playable. I feel like it is, but
people were playing it in modern. Yeah,
yeah, for sure. Anyway, um, aside from different formats and their different intricacies of blah 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 blah, I'm very happy that fetch lands do not work with Void, and we don't have to deal with any of that crap in the formats that we're playing on Arena, or at least
yeah.
Standard and Pioneer. Timeless, you already got better stuff to do.
Yeah.
Jeff, I did want to kind of circle back because you had earlier talked about the Eldrazi card that you had seen. And I would also like you to read the Eldrazi card because I know you in particular did not want to see any Eldrazi in the set, but you knew that they would come.
Yeah, I knew there's basically no chance that they don't show up because it's set in the Blind Eternities. But I was hoping it wouldn't be an Eldrazi entire. Like I thought it'd be an Eldrazi set, and
Yeah.
that doesn't seem to be the case. So I'm happy about that. But we do have Anti-Causal Vestige, which is 6 colorless or 6 mana of any color
Mm-hmm.
of any denomination for a 7/5 Eldrazi. When it leaves the battlefield, draw a card. Then you may put a permanent card with mana value less than or equal to the number of lands you control from your hand onto the battlefield tapped. Warp 4 ambiguous. Okay, so uh, this is kind of like your. This reminds me of Evoke designs where they
Mm-hmm.
trigger when they leave.
Yes.
And you know they're going to leave if you warp them, but you don't actually know that that's going to happen if you just cast the creature.
Yeah.
This card seems kind of bad to me, but like it's interesting. I like how it's triggered. It's tied to the lands you control as well. So if you pay
Yeah.
like if you're warping it, you probably have fewer lands than if you're just casting it, or maybe you don't. Like this is one of those creatures that you might warp
Even when you have
even
like 9 lands. Yeah.
Yeah, like when you have a ton of lands because it's just you need to actually get that effect right away. So I think the
Yeah.
design is fine. Um, I don't like anything else but this card really. I don't think it's that good, so I'm happy about that.
Yeah. I
And
don't think it's very good. I think in draft it'll be interesting.
yeah.
Um, but I basically wanted you to read it because they did say on the stream this is the only Eldrazi card in the set.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so there's no worry that there's more. Just wait, they were wrong, and that it comes
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
But I did
JK, it's
hear.
all Eldrazi from
I
here on
heard
out.
like an off. It was like kind of like a side comment of like, oh yeah, the Eldrazi card and the Sliver card, and
Okay.
And so they're like, okay, so we're not worried too much about, and it wasn't like a main talking point. It's like somebody just kind of said it. I think somebody else kind of looked at them, and then they just got it. It was just one of those. It was a great stream, I will say, of like little subtle things like that. Where it's like, were they supposed to say that? I can't really tell.
Yeah.
But
Or
this
they're just
anti,
all terrific actors. And they're like,
that's definitely not it.
pretend like we weren't supposed to leak that, but it's actually
Yeah,
information we want them to have.
yeah, no way, no way. But the Eldrazi seems like, fine. Like I alluded to earlier, there is a Sliver card.
Yeah.
Which is the Thrumming Hive, similar to the Thrumming Hive Pool, which is similar to Thrumming Stone, which is another Sliver card. This is a 6 mana artifact at rare. It has affinity for slivers, which is pretty fun. And it says slivers you control have double strike and haste. And at the beginning of your upkeep, create 2/1/1 colorless sliver creature tokens. This is the only sliver card in the set. I believe this is what they meant when they said there's only one sliver card. Um, so affinity for slivers doesn't really matter in this instance. Um, but I guess I'm thinking for limited perspectives. But like even just a 6 mana, you
Or
get two.
standard, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, all the slivers in standard. We don't have any changelings right now, do we?
I don't think so.
Yeah. Um, so that would really just be, hey, do you want to put this into your? Actually, no. Sorry, there is one of the special guests is Sliver Overlord, so you could have one sliver on the battlefield. Um, but I don't know. A 6 mana, you make 2/1/1 double strike hasty tokens every turn. There might be formats in limited where that's possible to uh,
Yeah,
to do. I don't know. Getting pieces
yeah.
of cardboard is kind of nice, but it does do nothing when it comes into play. So
I'd be worried about this in limited, especially since like this is an artifact heavy set. There's ways to deal with artifacts flying around as well. So
that's true. That's very true. It
I
would
feel
be
like you're so likely to just spend six and get
and just,
nothing. Yeah.
but also, what if they can't kill it? You know,
If they can't kill it after, I mean, it still takes a long time because
it
this is
does.
a 6 mana spell, right? So like even the 2/1/1 haste double strikers that you get on the next turn,
Probably
unless it
don't
was,
attack.
I mean, do they do enough for to be a 6 drop? No. So
No,
you probably need to wait a
probably
whole
need.
other turn cycle, and
Yeah,
then is this a 6 drop you're happy with to get four
6 mana
1/1 haste double
for
strikes?
at that
Maybe?
case. I would say in that case, I'm probably thinking of it as like a 6 mana. You get 2/1/1s double strike, and I stopped thinking about haste because it's been so many turns that haste doesn't matter.
Yeah. So
So
like
it's
how
like
many 1/1 double strikes is worth 6 mana
it's like
when
three.
they come, like
Yeah,
over that many turns?
so it'd be like 4 turns worth, which is like six, which is a lot of
Hmm.
time. That's so much
Yeah, I don't
time.
know. I don't know about that. Like
Because
I think
like,
if it was 6 mana, create 4/1/1 double strikes right now, would you play that card?
mm,
Would it be good? It might be good in some decks. Would it be good? I don't know if it,
one
I
one
don't
is
know.
hard. 4/1/1s like we got in Final Fantasy, we had a 4 mana spell that made 3/1/1s, and
Yeah.
that was
But they don't have haste and double strike.
that's true. That's true. They don't have haste and double strike, but that spell could also tap your opponent's creatures, and that was the a
And it was
big
a
part of it.
common.
It was a common that would also went late. So like 6 mana
This
takes a
seems
lot of
bad.
turns. Yeah, it seems
Sorry,
like
Sliver fans. I'm
yeah.
not going to be drafting this one.
No, you probably would just want to play this in your like sliver commander deck,
It's going to
and
be one of those ones where they have Shatter and they just don't use it because you might play something that doesn't suck.
yeah, yeah, kind of unfortunate. If you want a bunch of chumpers, you're just cruising for a
It's true.
breezy.
It's a lot of jumpers.
Yeah, but I don't know. Unfortunate. Um, So it turns out the Eldrazi and the Sliver cards are not super exciting as far as in our eyes, which is probably good. I will say that there is a poison card that is a little bit
Oh,
more enticing. I like
all
this one.
right.
So this is Virulent Silencer. It's a 3 mana, 2/3 artifact creature robot assassin at uncommon. It says whenever a non-token artifact creature you control deals combat damage to a player, that player gets 2 poison counters. So this is like Finn the Fangbearer,
Mm.
but for artifacts instead of death touch creatures. It's way easier to have artifacts hit your opponent, I feel, than death touch. I mean, death touch has an interesting play to it,
Yeah,
but as far
that's
as
the cool part of
yes,
Finn, but there just wasn't a ton of that. And you just like, all right, I trade with your Death Toucher because you made your part of what makes Death
hmm
Touch cool is you trade like a 1/1 for their 3/3 or whatever.
hmm
But once Finn is on the battlefield, it's like I don't feel as bad about that trade because your thing is you just made your thing better.
Yeah,
And
you're
now I'm
trying to
like,
you just told me that I should block. That's basically what you
right.
told me.
Now
Instead
I'm
of
happy to block. I feel like your creature's
yeah.
better than mine now. So
Yeah, exactly. It deals
yeah.
like double damage. Yeah, let's get this off the battlefield. But the silencer, I mean, like, I think it's pretty interesting. There's a bunch of artifacts in the set, and also if you have multiple of these, they trigger multiple times. It's not legendary like Finn is, so you don't have to worry about that. Could be possible in an artifact heavy type set. Non-token is huge though in this
I know.
situation.
I was gonna say the word non-token's a real bummer.
It is a real bummer because usually you can get little like thopters or servos or whatever, but
Yeah. Or
slivers,
like
yeah.
slivers that you think are artifacts, but they're not. They're just colorless, and you're like, shit.
That's true. That's true. But anyway, worth pointing out that poison's back, but that is also the only poison card in the set. So I like that they're dropping a couple of these little things in here. Just fun stuff for us to look at. I like it. It's nice.
Yeah. I think another thing we should talk about
Hmm.
is mechanic adjacent, I would say.
Okay, I like it.
It uses a mechanic we've talked about before, but in what I'll say is a unique way, and that is planets.
Mm.
So, uh, let's talk Susur Sukundi Void Altar,
Hmm.
which is a land planet. Enters tapped, taps for a black, and it has station. So it's a planet, you can occupy it, and I guess you can get enough of your people there to turn, really harness its power. And this one has 12 plus station,
Hmm.
and you can pay one in a black, tap it, pay 2 life, sack a creature. All of that allows you to draw cards equal to the sacrifice creature's power, which you may do as a sorcery. I think this is definitely interesting. I think this card sucks, by
Yeah,
the way.
this
As someone who loves sacrifice decks, I was excited to see a sacrifice land, and then I was like, what? 12 is way too much. The ability is not enough to pay you off for
no way.
tapping 12 power worth of creatures. But I think the design is interesting on planets of like,
Hmm.
okay, it's you're stationing a planet and wait, does this have to enter tapped? Anyways, would it be too good if it didn't? But I guess it would be swamp plus upside, and they don't want to do
Hmm.
that.
Yeah.
Is the reason.
They
Um,
also didn't just make it legendary,
yeah, of
which
course
would have
not.
fixed the
It's
issue.
a named planet, but there
Hmm.
might be many of them. Um, Yeah, so I think the design is interesting. I think they probably, based on the two that I'm seeing, I think they probably took a very conservative approach with these. And
Hmm.
I think that this is what I want to talk about. I think that's understandable. Whatever they might have said in the live stream, I don't know if they addressed this, but they've made mistakes on land's power level in the past before. And I think some of these are even referencing some of those lands. Like the blue one
Hmm.
is Tolarian something
Academy.
or Academy. Is that that one?
Tolarian Academy, yeah.
Um, this one is just nothing. This one just sucks.
The black one's horrible.
It's not
I
even like Phyrexian Tower or anything.
no.
It just fucking blows.
It's not even
Uh,
Urborg. Like
yeah.
it's not
But the
Cabal
blue one at
Coffers.
least got to turn into Phyrexian Academy. Or is it Phyrexian Academy? No, that I would love that, but
Yeah.
Tolarian Academy.
Tolarian Academy. It's not even Tolarian Academy though, because the blue one is the same thing. You have to like station up to 12, but you have to
Yeah,
pay blue and tap it to get
right.
blue for each artifact you
So they
control.
they really went like what was gonna happen if I tapped 12 power worth of creatures over however many turns? Was it really too much to unlock Tolarian Academy at that
Just
point?
straight up to Laren Academy. Like,
So they were obviously concerned and worried, and they were just like, you know what, let's just nuke them. But I don't know, man. It makes a mythic rare land feel
real shitty. Like,
real shitty. Yeah.
I don't want to play this. Like, Station doesn't look like something I'm interested in doing in a constructed format. It's barely something I'm interested in doing in like a limited format. It just seems like a lot of tapping my creatures and getting attacked. Like,
But okay, so especially in like aristocrats, okay, there's a lot of time when you have creatures that you're not going to attack with and you're not going to
mhm,
block with.
yeah,
Blood Artist.
sure.
And so this is like, I mean, okay, maybe Blood Artist, bad example, has no power, but
Hmm.
whatever the new one is, I
Yeah, a
always think of
1/1
it
or a
as
two
Blood
two.
Artist.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, this is perfect. You want station for that. But this effect is so bad and it
Hmm.
takes you so long to get there that the fact that this enters tapped makes this unplayable in that deck.
Absolutely
You,
unplayable. Like,
you play a lot of one drops.
why would you play this over Midgar, right?
Yeah.
Like,
And even Midgar is a little less powerful than I thought it was going to be. Like it's not hitting my expectations in that deck because I hate that it enters tapped. I
yeah,
always want to play one drop. So I'm like, this is wild. It feels wildly unplayable, and it feels
yeah.
like they nuked it at some point in development. But I like the flavor and idea that's going on here, and I
Hmm.
understand being apprehensive and conservative on station lands. But I think the idea of station lands is so cool because it's like there's so many Magic games where you just have these creatures that neither attack nor block,
Hmm.
and you could make the decision at sorcery speed.
To
Like
I'm
a
not
lot of the
gonna
times it's
block.
just like I can't attack because your creature is big, bigger than mine,
Hmm.
and I can't block because your creature is bigger than mine. So this creature's
Hmm.
just sitting there. And then they don't attack because they want to block, and it's like I get a way to actually use my
Hmm.
creature. So I'm hoping, well, I guess I'm hoping this is a cycle, and I'm hoping the other cards in this cycle suck less, but I'm not holding my breath, I
I'm
guess.
also not holding my breath. Um, yeah, it kind of looks like they get activated abilities because if the blue one didn't have this little blue pip here, it would make it seem like there could be some potential for strength. But
At
because
least
they're
worth fighting for at that point, right?
like, I don't know, it just makes me so upset. I think like the one thing I'm very down on right now is
Did
just
Susur
station.
Secundi have to cost two to do this? Like,
Why you have to
anyways.
pay two life, and sacrifice a creature? This is crazy. Like, pay what the fuck? It's like
And then I'm supposed to sack a big creature, apparently.
to draw cards. Like, what? Why wasn't it just like pay two, like 2 mana tap
And I
pay?
can't do it at instant speed. Like they really slapped everything on
Yeah,
this one. That's why I wanted to talk about this one because I just got more and more depressed as I read the card.
it's so awful. Like, I'm just so uninterested in playing it. But I also just want to say, like, there's so many, like, we talked about the interesting thing we could do with stations, like with the warp and stuff. But like, there's so many stations that I just don't like.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like I we try to talk about like all the great things about sets and stuff, and it's cool when they go for something that's different. But this thing, I really hope that I'm proven wrong, but stations look really bad to me.
Yeah.
Like, extremely
It seems like
uninteresting.
they were nervous about it and
Yeah.
yanked it back.
They all kind of feel like you have to have the stationed part of it or it doesn't do anything, which might not be true. Maybe like there's a common that's called Wormwall Sweeper, and it's just like a 2 mana artifact that surveils when it enters, and then you can station it for 4. It becomes a 2/2 flyer. Like, is it just good enough to like pay 2 mana to surveil to and have an artifact on the battlefield, and then maybe it turns into a creature, but you don't care about that part necessarily? Like, is that the set we're going into? Like, I feel like it would have to be that kind of way. Or like you get to warp something and then this just becomes a 2/2 that turn. Like, that would be something, I guess. But all these like 20 plus, 12 plus stations are just like, oh, give me a break. Like this is
Yeah.
feels just impossible. It doesn't. It's like I like the idea of a giant ship and how do you power a giant ship. Like that is all interesting, but tapping all my creatures on my turn to not even create the thing. It's like a really slow vehicle. Just sounds just not great to me. I don't know. I don't know if you feel differently, but it just makes me feel ugh.
Yeah. I like the idea of station as a mechanic. I
Hmm.
think it fixes what I didn't like about vehicles. But there's no design that I'm seeing with it
Hmm.
where I'm like, that's cool. It's mostly just like, I feel like I'm working too hard for that payoff.
So hard. Like maybe there's this rare. Okay, so it's called Extinguisher Battleship. It costs 8 mana for an artifact spacecraft at rare. It says when this spacecraft enters, destroy target non-creature permanent. Okay, maybe hit their land is kind of part of it. And it says then this spacecraft deals 4 damage to each creature. So you get to blow up something that's not a creature, and then wipe the board for small creatures. It also has station, of course, and its station is just 5 or more.
Yeah.
And then it becomes a 10/10 with flying and trample. So this is like a really expensive board wipe that doesn't like wipe everything. Blows up a non-creature permanent, and then if you happen to have a 5/5 on the battlefield, it immediately becomes a 10/10.
Sure. This is what I'm
Like,
talking about on a payoff actually being worth it. Like 10/10
mm-hmm,
flying trample. It's like, damn, that's a real
yes,
thing. I feel like this card is mostly about the front side.
yes,
I think the what this card is selling to me is like I'll reset the board, I'll blow up everything, and then
mm-hmm.
it becomes like a
The
what
biggest
tends to
thing.
happen in those situations is we both just play whatever we draw.
Mm-hmm.
And this is like as long as you can get to 5 power, like this seriously advantages you in that
Yeah.
situation where neither of us have anything and we're just top decking because all I need to muster is like 5 power over the course of however many turns, and
Mm-hmm.
then I get this thing. I think that's what it's selling. And then there's the dream of like I have a 5/5 and I blow everything else up, and like
Yeah.
the 4 and the 5 obviously line up intentionally.
Yeah.
But this thing costs 8 mana, right?
Like,
So
is
like is
that's a
this
lot.
even a station card, really? If you do this, an 8 mana spell should win you the game, anyways.
Yeah, and this
So,
doesn't. You need
yeah,
something else for sure, and it might not even kill all their stuff.
right. So it's like I appreciate the design here. I think it's interesting. I think there's some cool stuff going on, but it's like it costs 8.
Mm-hmm.
So, when am I going to cast this?
Yeah. Yeah. Very. The one thing I will say about stations in general is that so far, every one that has power and toughness has flying as well because they're all spacecrafts. So
That's cool.
at least there's
Yeah.
that. Because I was talking to somebody today and they were like, yeah, why is they like, do they just all have flying? Like, what would not have flying? It's space. Like, everything has flying, right? Like,
Yeah.
what would be considered something that isn't flying? I was like, yeah, I guess anything just on a planet, but
Should be like super flying. You
yeah,
know?
yeah. But anyway, it didn't want to be such a downer on the station thing, but like, I don't know. I'm not.
I
I'm
was high on it when I saw the first preview card. And
yeah.
now that I've seen more, I think I'm a little
It'll
less interested.
yeah. There's probably one that's good, and we'll play with the one that's good. That's what it feels like
Yeah. There's probably
compared to
one that's
like
good, and I'll play against the one that's good.
yeah, yeah, basically yeah. I will not be playing that card, but other people will.
Yeah.
Um, well, because the one that is the first one we saw had at least something going on with like tapped creatures, and it made kind of sense with like itself.
Yeah, yeah.
The other ones just seem kind of like I don't really know. I don't know.
Not cards that excite me personally, but
Yes.
I, I also understand that there are other people who will get excited about these cards.
Well, of
So
course.
that's
Yeah.
cool.
Jeff, I did want to see if you were interested in this card. It is a
Oh, lay it
red
on me.
card. It's an enchantment. It's called Weapons Manufacturing. Costs one in a red for a rare enchantment. It says whenever a non-token artifact creature, sorry, whenever a non-token artifact you control enters, create a colorless artifact token named Munitions. With when this token leaves the battlefield, it deals 2 damage to any target. So it's a
I like this
very
card a lot more now that you removed the word creature from
yes.
it.
So it's just this enchantment that cares about you playing artifacts of any kind. Well, non token artifacts, but playing artifacts. You get a bunch of token munitions that just shock your opponent, probably, when you sacrifice them, which in whenever you play is trivial.
I think my initial reaction is I'm not interested in this card,
Okay.
but I could see a world where it becomes appealing. Like, obviously, the place I'm thinking of this is with Oni Cult Anvil,
Mm-hmm. Which would be Pioneer.
which should be put me firmly in the realm of Pioneer. Current builds of that deck don't want to cast artifacts other than Oni Cult Anvil. They want to make token
Mm-hmm.
artifacts and sack those. This is kind of explicitly asking you to rebuild that deck
Mm-hmm.
where most things are, or everything, if
Is
you can,
artifacts,
is
yeah.
an artifact. And I'm not sure the support is there for that, but this is a real payoff if you get there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you're generating free artifacts on everything you pay, and in this deck, sacking is not a problem because
Mm-hmm.
this card inherently doesn't let you sack those artifacts. So you need an alternative way to sack those tokens that you're creating.
Yeah,
Um, then you get to shock anything. That's a real payoff.
that is.
But
Your
this is
Shrapnel Blast?
asking,
Shrapnel Blast deals 7?
woo! Problem with Shrapnel Blast is that it didn't deal enough damage.
Yeah.
But this card asks a lot of you.
It
It's like,
does.
hey, play
I
non-token
mhm.
artifacts and then also find a way to sack artifacts easily. Uh, but I'm intrigued. But I
Mhm.
just think where my brain immediately goes is to a realm where this is probably not powerful enough because you could just kind of do this. You could do stuff similar to this without working so hard.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm not sure what exists in standard.
Mhm.
So I'm intrigued, but not yet interested.
Not jumping right on board. All right, I'm fine with that. I can for sure see that. It looks like they might be pushing it a little bit in this set, so I'm excited to see what happens with the red blacks. Like creature like artifact sacrifices the theme. So
I'm into it. Like I like
yeah,
this type of deck. I like the type of deck that this is promising me if the support ends up being there.
yeah,
But I'm a little skeptical given the power level of standard.
yeah.
It just feels like standard is now a format where it's like you don't have to work that hard. You don't have to work so hard. And a lot of these cards are asking you to work hard.
That's true. That's true. The ones that ask you to work hard are the fun ones, and the ones
Yeah,
that aren't are not fun
yeah.
ones. Or they're
Then
fun, but
they just ban all of Izzet's cards, and Izzet is still the best deck.
it's still very good. Yeah. They just they're playing like Brimstone whatever instead. Have you seen that?
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I'm just getting smoked by is it like basically Paolo's deck? Is it VV?
Yeah.
But it's it's still fucking awesome. It's like is it discard? I
Oh,
guess.
sure, 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 sure,
Basically the
sure.
deck I'm playing, but instead of black, they're playing blue. And then I looked at
Hmm.
my deck and I was like, why am I playing black? Oh yeah, for
Yeah.
Bloodghast. Is that
I was
enough
like,
for like Prof's Eidetic Memory, VV? And like I should
yeah,
probably just be playing that deck.
stock up.
Yeah, I should probably just be playing the Izzet version.
Yeah, that is hard when you're like, oh, the one I'm doing is worse. The
Yeah,
card I was,
it's like my deck, but better. That's why I keep
yeah,
losing to it. That makes
mm.
sense.
The card I was thinking of was Brimstone Roundup, which
Mm,
is, I don't know if it actually should be in decks, but I did play against it, and it did make a shit ton of creatures. Um, which is from Outlaws of Thunder Junction. It's an enchantment, one in red. Whenever you cast your second spell, each turn create a 1/1 red mercenary creature token.
right, yeah.
So they're like, oh, this is a 2 mana thing that makes tokens when you flurry. They don't get to attack right
That
away. They're not nearly as good.
that is the the saddest like you know when a card gets banned and people have a replacement for it? I
Hmm.
think this is the saddest example of
It's a
that
pretty
I've
sad
ever.
example, I will
It's like
say.
Core Steel Cutter gets banned and you replace it with Brimstone
Yeah,
Roundup. Like that's not even close.
it's not. I still lost to it, so I'm not happy about it, and it's still stuck in my mind. And I think that's probably why. But it's also because they ended up playing like three of them. So every time they
Sure. Yeah.
flurried, it was like three creatures. I was like, okay, well, I can't block all those creatures.
Well, here's the nice thing about Core Steel Cutter. They never get to three because you're dead so
Hmm.
far, so so much before they get to their third one on the
It's
battlefield.
true. It's true. Um, though the times when usually what happens is when you cast the third one, your opponent scoops. They're just like,
Right.
no.
Yeah,
You're like
exactly.
third one, opt, and they're like, fuck this. Okay, I'm done.
And you're like, so that makes it, and just
You
imagining
just,
it happening in paper, you're like
yeah,
gathering your tokens and
yeah,
you're
yeah. You're like, okay, so it's gonna
just
be
dump out your
this and this.
dice. And
Yeah, yeah.
hold on.
And they're like, no, 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 no. I just, I'm gonna catch the next
You know
train. I
what?
gotta get out of
Let's
here.
not worry about this because to
Um,
get it exactly right is going to take too long. I'm dead. I'm
yeah,
just
I'm
going to
dead.
wait.
I'm dead.
Yeah.
Uh, Jeff, one card I wanted to point out is a gold card. It got a little bit of time in the sun. It's not. I don't think it's very good, but of
Okay.
course they have to bring this up every time. And you know what? I think a card game should. I think they should do callbacks like this, even if they're terrible. Which is Cosmogoyf.
I, yeah, with that preamble, I knew which card you were talking about.
Yeah. This is both black and green, so it's 2 mana for a star, 1+star. It's a
Classic.
creature elemental Lurgoyf at rare. It says this creature's power is equal to the number of cards you own in exile, and its toughness is equal to that number plus one. Um, it is definitely just a Lurgoyf kind of thing. Doesn't have the
Yeah.
same Tarmogoyf text of caring about card types. It just wants the number of cards, and it only wants the number of cards that you have in exile.
Yeah.
Though, all right. So first of all, annoying, stupid. It's just not super exciting. When are you going to have cards in exile? Meh. Though I just did think
Yeah.
of something that could be pretty interesting. Is that
Mm.
if you do happen to be playing a Golgari like graveyard deck in standard, take out a bunch of graveyard stuff, put this in, and you just cross your fingers your opponent plays turn two rest in peace. Bam! Slam this thing down.
See, the thing is, I was thinking Abzan, and you
Yuna.
play Rest in Peace.
Oh, and you play. Oh, that's true. Okay, you could just play rest in peace yourself.
And
You're right. You're right.
then your Seder Wayfinder really turns this thing on.
Yeah.
Uh, like I actually have an Abzan Ketramos deck
Hmm.
in my like deck collection on
Yeah.
Arena right now. It I I spent, a few nights of grinding or like just playing, I guess. Um on that deck and it could do some stuff, but I never got to the point where it was winning really.
Hmm.
Like it would I think where I got was I would have close matches. Every game was close, and I would usually lose like 2-1 in the
Hmm.
match. But every game was pretty close. So the deck was like okay, but not
Hmm.
really competitive. So there is a thing there of like
Hmm.
exiling
Exile
cards.
matters.
I think I don't think this card would be too good if it counted your opponent's stuff in exile.
I agree. We just do both.
I understand what they're worried about of like the oh no, you're ley lining them and then you like it's still not a good two drop.
No.
And even if you have
Honestly,
the free ley line of the void on turn 0, this is still not a good two drop.
to me, this feels like, hey, this is a fun Lurgoyf thing. There's a bunch of, Goyf thing. There's a bunch of Goyfs that were printed in some commander decks at one point. Let's just make it so you don't have to keep asking your opponents how many cards they have in exile. Let's just make it so you can just count yourself. That's literally what this sounds like to me.
Yeah, I was gonna
If
say
you,
it sounds like a simplicity thing either for, like the whole new players hate, the symmetric stuff or whatever, like yeah, asking your opponent.
well, not just your opponent. I'm talking about like in a commander game. You have
Oh,
like,
of course, you're
the,
asking everyone.
yeah,
Yeah.
you have to ask the
So,
entire table
yeah,
constantly. Yeah, I think that sounds more of why they did this.
right.
Um, but I
Yeah.
it's
This
it's
card
inter-
seems terrible.
yeah, it seems pretty bad. It reminds me of Souls of the Lost. That
Mm.
cares about permanence in your graveyard, and then when your opponent plays Graveyard Hate, you just flip them for this card instead.
Yeah. Switcheroo.
Switcheroo, 4 for 4, and just like probably a horrible plan, but it does sound like a funny time. Like as far
Gotcha.
as draft goes, this card seems pretty brutal. Like what
It
you
would
just
have to be a very specific format for this card not to be wildly unplayable.
unplayable.
And I
Yeah, it's
can't imagine a format where it's good.
you play this on 2, you warp on 3, and you never want to unwarp your creature because you need to make sure
But
your
then you
Cosmoglyph
forget and you
does stuff.
do, and you're like, shit.
Yeah. Or you attack in, it has 1 point of toughness left. You play your warp creature, you kill it. You're like, no, what have
Yeah,
I done?
that would happen to me for sure.
That would happen to me multiple times because that's exactly that's gonna happen for sure. Um, oh, Cosmogoyf. I do like that they continue to play cards like or make cards like that though. We're like, you know what, we haven't made this version yet. And you really only remember the good ones, but there's a bunch of bad ones. That just seems
Yeah.
like classic card game to me.
Yeah. It's interesting when the bad ones come after the good one versus like, but
I mean, like, isn't that's probably the normal cadence, though, right? Because it's like you make the good one, everyone knows the good one, and then you make a bunch of other ones that are like trying to be like the good one, but not as good, and so they're always just bad.
but if you imagined it from like a designer's perspective ahead of time, you'd have this cool idea, and then you would slowly understand where it sits in the power level, and you'd build one up that's like
That's
appropriate. Yeah.
appropriate. That's true,
It's not how
but
it happens. They like build one, they're like, well, that was fucking good. But people
yeah,
love it, and then they nuke it, and then
hmm
they work their way back to the like
yeah, a
mediocre.
mediocre one. That is, I did want to ask. So with Tarmogoyf, did they? I know Tarmogoyf came out as one of like the future sight cards.
Yeah,
Did they ever officially print it in a set to be like this was the printing, or was it always just Modern Masters stuff?
it was always modern stuff, pretty
Yeah.
sure.
So they never just decided, hey, this is when Tarmogoyf, because the point was that this is a card from the future, and
Yeah,
eventually they print it into a set, but they just never
I guess
did.
they're satisfied with that being modern
Yeah,
master or not like modern horizons or something.
yeah,
Because
yeah. I think they in Modern Masters they would always print Tarmogoyf. Um,
yeah, they printed in modern masters. I think was it in modern horizons?
I don't think so. They made a bunch of other Goyfs in Modern Horizons. I'm pretty sure they made an entire. I think it was a Goyf deck,
Right.
but it was in Time Spiral Remastered. It was in a bunch of stuff, but I don't think it was ever officially in its own printing as like this was it. It came from here. Yeah, it's just a bunch of Modern Master stuff.
It's kind of
Um,
interesting because like this card wouldn't be that good in standard, right? I don't think.
yeah, they should really just. I know it feels like they should just officially print it, but
And
I guess
maybe they will.
it's
I
kind
don't know.
of like a what, $6 card now or less. Like it's
Right,
just
it's
not
not even
very good.
expensive. Like there's just no real reason.
I mean, they're
I guess
printing.
there's no real reason to print it.
Mhm.
There's no real reason not to, but the only reason to print it is that they kind of said they would by putting it in Time Spiral.
Yeah, I'm sure that there's a list out there somewhere that has like the future strike cards, and they're like, "Hey, we haven't printed these ones yet officially."
Yeah.
Which it's so funny looking back on that set, Future Sight, like the Time Spiral thing in general. But when Future Sight had come out originally, I was furious. I was so angry, and it was
At the card
because
frame.
at the card frame. It was the card
Yeah.
frame because I had already gone through old border into modern border, and
Yeah.
I did not like the modern border. I liked everything old border, and I was so upset that Mirrodin was like all these silver artifacts and stuff. And so when they went to Future Sight and they changed the border again, I was like, I'm not fucking playing this game. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And I left for a long time because of that.
I like hadn't been
Later,
playing and I saw Tarmogoyf, I'm sure it was
mhm,
Tarmogoyf, but some card. I was like, what? That's what Magic cards look like now? That looks hideous. And I
yeah,
still think that frame is horrible, by the way. Like, I still
I
think that frame looks so bad. But,
so it's so funny because now I don't hate it anymore.
yeah.
Now it's kind of like a fun thing. When they did Mystery Booster 2 made a bunch of like Future Sight bordered cards. So it's like Future Sight Ponder and Future Sight whatever.
Ugh.
Um,
God,
and
no.
and there I think are those cards also white border? There that might have also been part of it.
Just make them as ugly as possible. I can get behind that.
No, white
Like
border is awesome.
lean into the ugliness.
Okay, no, never mind. You could either get a future sight border or a white border. I do like the white border cards. I'm a
I
fan.
love white border too, but I think they look bad. Like I think that's part of it. I think it looks worse.
You
But I
like it
just
because it looks worse? Is that what you're saying?
like
Um,
it harkens back to a different time. Like it's a specific memory to me. But also there was a thing like that I used to do back when I played was that certain things would be white borders. So when I'm searching for them, I just find them easier
yeah,
because everything else is black border.
is black border. Yeah, I mean, like I was a big like if they just didn't give a shit about it working in other countries. I know this is the most American thing I'm gonna say, but like the only reason we lost white border is because of other countries.
God damn it.
Because
Other
it's
countries.
I know. Sorry, not even other countries, just other countries that speak non-English. So because they always wanted white border cards to be reprints of cards. However, there would be a bunch of product that was the first time it was printed in Japanese was a
Ah,
white border version of the card, right? They'd be like, oh, well, we want the Japanese first printing to be black border because they wanted the first printing to always be black border. And then it got so complicated and so hard, they said, you know what? No more white border cards. Let's just fucking give up. Let's just do black border always, and we don't have to even think about it. But if they just said, if the just do white border English cards that way, and then other languages don't matter.
no, no. The solution is just like just cards that are reprinted in any language. It happens to be that the game started in English.
Mm-hmm.
Cards that are reprinted in any language are white border.
Or word, yeah,
What does it matter? Are,
exactly.
pe are people
It's
in
just like
Japan going to be like, well, I can't possibly figure out why this one's white border? Like,
it was reprinted. It's not the first
Magic was made in the
printing.
age of the internet, man. Like,
Yeah.
it's not like they would have to fly to America to find out why this one was white border.
Also, just like whatever. I don't know. I I know it's way too
Or it
late
could
for
be a
this.
fun game for them, Like
Yeah,
Japanese people would be like, "Why the fuck's this one white? I can't. I don't
yeah.
know."
Or it's like, well, the problem would be all their cards would be white border always, because they're always reprints. So it's like, oh, they're black border cards. I thought this game was just white border. And
What do you mean? No, like an eighth edition set or whatever. If it were in Japan, like if it was always just if the American version is new, then it's
yeah,
black border. And when
hmm
you ship it to Japan, it's just the same. It's always the same. That's what I'm saying, right? Like,
what was happening was like they yes, if we always made it the same, where it's like there might be some Japanese cards aren't ever black border because they never printed it first in Japanese. You could only get like an English black border. You could never get a Japanese black border.
no, what I'm saying is the Japanese card should always just match the English card in border. Like, just
Yeah,
always make this the same card. So,
yeah.
like,
But what I'm saying is like if they printed alpha only in English, and they decided, oh, we're going to reprint cards, and when we reprint cards, now they're going to be white border.
oh, the
There
Japanese
was
version never has a black
would
border.
never
Like,
have a black border. Yeah, because
why
they've
does that matter?
always
Like, the
exactly
card
that's
just it's still the case,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like,
Well, that's what I'm saying too. Is that
because they're
like
not reprinting alpha. I guess you're saying
yeah,
like they thought they would reprint alpha
that's
in
no.
Japanese.
What they started doing is they said the first printing of each card in each language would be black border, and then it started getting too hard to track. Well, this card was printed in this language black border, but it wasn't printed in this one yet. So
I
then we
know. What
make
I'm saying is that was stupid. That
yes, that
decision was
was
stupid.
it was dumb. It was too. It was
Like,
way
why
too
is it a
complicated.
problem that there are no black bordered Japanese?
That's what I'm saying too. Yeah, yeah. It
Yeah,
just doesn't matter. But then I guess sorry, this is the reasoning is that then in Japan randomly the Magic game is just all white border cards or a ton of white border cards.
yeah, that's the part I don't necessarily agree with. But like, all new cards will be black border moving
Ex-
forward, so they
Except for I guess I'm just thinking about core sets. But whatever. They were always white border anyway. I still like white border cards. But they also have like seventh edition cards that aren't all white border. I don't know. Anyway,
it's just weird.
it's just weird.
It was a weird definition of like why they were using the borders in the first place. It didn't line up once they got bigger, and it's like maybe your definition of borders didn't make sense and not necessarily
Yeah,
the
because maybe it also
use
just
of
like
them.
so the thing with so seventh edition was like all the cards were white border in seventh edition except for the foil cards were black border because it was the first time that that card had been printed in foil, which is an absurd thing to
Jesus,
do.
that's so
And
dumb.
yes, so that is the kind of shit that was going on.
They really took this idea to the extreme that
They
about the
did.
first time printing.
So then
Like,
they're like, as soon as it's, and then I think in 10th edition they decided to say like, fuck it, it's just black border everything. Um,
I think the takeaway is just how much it came from like a
a
collector's
stupid
mindset or
idea. Yeah.
whatever.
Well,
Like,
I mean, at the beginning of the game, that's what they were so focused on. They were like, you know what,
right?
collectors are super important. We need to make the reserve
It's
list.
like a
People have
comic
to,
book thing, and like
yeah,
all that culture of like this is what matters is
yeah, the comic book
it's all
cover
about
thing.
collecting.
The fucking
Yeah.
can we talk about comic book covers, buddy? Like, what the
I
hell
know
is
very
that
little
about?
about it, but
It's just like comic book covers are like there's one. Let's say there's first edition, whatever. The
mhm.
first printing of whatever comic book is coming out. There will be like five different covers to that one comic book just to make collectors buy all the different covers of that comic book. So
Oh,
you'll have
okay.
five versions of the same story. The only thing that's different is the cover. So it's basically like Magic cards, I guess, having a bunch of different arts for the
I was
same
gonna
card.
say like
Except
that's
for
what we do now in Magic.
but like in Magic, it's like most of the time you just pick your favorite one and you play
Hmm.
that version. Where in
Yeah.
comic books, because it's all collecting, you're trying to get one of all the different ones. You're not trying to get the same. So I guess you're really just, I guess your playset is just 5 instead of 4. All
So
right,
they
I
hit
get it.
onto this idea a long time ago, these comic book guys.
It's been
They
a
knew it
while.
was up.
Yeah.
And that makes sense too, because even like I remember Pokemon cards from Wizards of the Coast. It used to have a
Hmm.
first edition stamp on them. And, like that was the thing. The same
Yeah.
set would have like first edition. And I was always like, what the fuck do I care?
Hmm.
Like, card's the same, right? Just has the stamp or not? Okay.
Yeah.
But
And now it
oh,
matters a lot.
everyone I knew was like, this one's first edition. I'm like,
Hmm.
sort of like foil to me now. It's like, okay, I won't trade for it because you're going to value that higher than I will because I don't care about that stamp.
Yeah. But with Pokemon cards specifically, because that is such a collector's game, like
Yeah.
Magic is actually moving into that space, I think. Dude, this is like
Right. I think
with
Magic started in that space, moved out of it, and was like, hey,
hmm
we have actually just a great game. And that's what people
hmm
care about. And I was like, no, wait, actually, we like those collectors.
well,
It's like trying to get back in.
they wanted to keep collectors in it because they will buy a bunch of product and they're just raw money,
Yeah, yeah. Of course.
which is obviously important for whatever business or blah blah blah. But with Final Fantasy, I did find out recently in a TikTok video that the art cards in packs are actually worth money. Like
Hmm,
tens of dollars, which are usually like pennies. And just because they
that's
have
crazy.
pictures of characters people like, and that's enough. So, hey, this Universe is Beyond thing is really paying off. I don't know. Like it's working the way that they needed it to. And okay. All right, I guess.
Okay, so answer me this.
Yeah,
And this is a hypothetical.
sure.
And it's not me. I'm asking for a friend.
Okay.
But let's suppose that I were actually a terrific sealed player, and
Yes.
I happened to win two booster boxes of
Mm-hmm.
Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
Should I open those so that I could sell now that I know these art cards are so valuable?
Mm-hmm.
Or should I just sell the boxes themselves because that price is valued in?
Mm. I would say if you have two booster boxes of Final Fantasy,
You'd
I
have to be
would.
really good at sealed to win those.
You'd have to be crazy good to be like it's near.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
basically impossible. So like
yeah.
this is
You'd
a
actually,
complete hypothetical.
of course.
I would probably keep one sealed. Hold on to that. See what the value happens in the future, and if it goes up and you can sell this thing, awesome. But if you can't, in the future, it's always fun to just play, formats again. And then the other box, you should definitely just play with your friends because
Mm,
playing draft with your friends is priceless, and you will never get that time back. So get as many drafts in as you can. Um, and hey, maybe cut your friends a deal and make the draft pretty cheap for them and
no,
just have a good
charge them
time.
through the nose.
Yeah, yeah. $100 a head.
Yeah. Keep the art cards.
Yeah, yeah. That's what it is. Yeah, you get to keep all the art cards you open.
But the rares are mine. But
Yeah, all the rares are yours. But
or in this case, yours.
oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, the joke is that I did win 2 boxes from the Arena Direct event recently, which I'm still trying to figure out how to work their website thing. But I'll
I
get
know
there.
it's a nightmare.
It is a nightmare. I am now seeing what you're talking about when you're
Yeah, I was like, I
saying this
almost
is.
don't want the boxes down. Just
It's
like,
like such a pain in the butt. But yeah, I think that's the plan. Save one and play the other one. So
love it.
yeah, playing Magic is the best way to play Magic. But with that, Jeff,
I mean, he's not wrong.
do we after we went on a big? Oh, I guess I went on a big tirade about white border cards.
Yeah.
Would we like to go to closing time? Or sorry, not even closing time. Fuck, holy shit! This is only a 6.5% beer. I don't know why I'm the state that I am, but let's go to last call. talk about this beer, give it a rating on a scale from bronze to mythic, just like the tiers in Arena. However, these tiers have nothing to do with what tier you are in currently. It's just a fun way to rate beers. We're not trying to be mean when we say that bronze beers are trash. They're horrible. You have to spit them out, you pour them on the ground, and you hate them.
Yeah, silver is just bad or boring.
Platinum beers are good, but sorry, we're not talking about platinum yet. We're at gold.
Yeah.
God, holy shit. Gold beers are fine, but you wouldn't drink them again.
Platinum is solid. You would drink it again.
Diamond beers are exceptional. You like this a lot. You show them off to your friends.
Mythic, these are the absolute best of the best. These are Zach crushing the fucking Final Fantasy sealed event. He didn't even mention this, but he didn't even lose a game. It was 7-0, baby.
That's true. I did not drop a game. It was pretty great. The video is up on YouTube if you want to go watch my journey. But yeah, slow, Jeff. This IPA. What did you think about this thing?
I liked it. I thought it was good. It's just, they're competing in a real tough category.
It's a real tough category, but I liked it a lot. I think it was really
I thought it was
tasty.
good. I thought it was really tasty. I think they should put some of those tasting notes on the can
They
because
have
after
to.
you mentioned them, like, yeah,
Guava.
yeah, I got the mango too.
Oh, sorry. I said
The
guava. That's not part of it. Papaya. That's what I tried. That's what I meant to say.
papaya. Yes,
Yeah.
okay. Um, I got the like tropical fruit that they were promising, and it's totally a well-made IPA. And I actually noticed the oats for sure. Like the head
Oh,
retention was
I
solid on it.
forgot to look at the head. Fuck.
Yeah, I got good head out of this one.
Yeah, yeah.
That being said, it's like it didn't wow me. I think there was
Sure.
still is like just a well-made beer that tasted good. There's nothing I can really talk against it,
hmm
but I've had beers of this category that were like, you know,
Way just amazing.
absolutely unbelievable. And this one was like really good.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think this is it's really good. It's tasty. Slake, we've had one other thing from Slake before. I believe Hatch was one of the beers we had from them.
Yeah, I remember that one now. Yeah.
And I liked that one. I drank a few of those. I'll probably drink a couple more of these as well.
Go
But it would
down the
probably
hatch.
be just like classic like high platinum, where it's
Yeah,
like
I think
this
this is
beer.
right where this sits is high
It's like
platinum.
super solid. Tickling diamond, but probably never
Didn't
gonna get
quite
there.
do enough to get there for me. Yeah.
Yeah, so just like a nice platinum there. Um, but great beers, great episode, great cards. Jeff, now would you like to go to closing time? Wow.
Now I think it's appropriate.
I
Yeah.
think it's appropriate. You can always reach us at Arena Regulars on Instagram and Blue Sky.
Yeah. You might also find us on Arena itself, username Arena Regulars Podcast.
Yeah. If you want to talk to me personally, you can find me at the regular_Zach on Instagram and TikTok and all the places. But Jeff, where can they find you?
Best place is our Discord channel. We talk about decks, we talk about beers, we talk about all formats that are on Arena. And it's just a lot of fun. And best of all, we host an Arena peasant cube draft. And that means you don't have to risk your rare or mythic rare wildcards. Everything is an uncommon or common. It's a great way to use those wildcards. And honestly, the cube is awesome. It's a lot of fun. You wouldn't even know you're playing like a non-powered cube because it's just the decks are so strong. And it's so fun. We host that once a month. So come join our Discord channel. The link for that's in the show notes.
That's right. Also, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Follow us on Spotify. Leave us a review there as well. Go to YouTube. Leave a little bit of a comment. Honestly, the real thing is that we want to hear what you think about the show. It means a lot to us. This has been the Arena Regulars.
Reminding you that Edge of Eternities is not all about Eldrazi. Thank God.
Good night. All right, that's fine.